To welcome Dr. Alok Bajpai to today's session. Is a renowned psychiatrist and professor at the Indian Institute of Mental Health and
There's a signal problem, Michelle.
please welcome me to join Dr. Alok to the stage.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Uh, Good afternoon. It's an afternoon in India right now. Slightly cold, but not too much. I would request if your bandwidth allows, all of you good people, you put on your video so that we have face to face, if possible. So I can see your faces also. But nevertheless, that all depends on your bandwidth. So what we'll do is I'll present my ideas in say 10-15 minutes, and then we can do a Q&A, and Michelle will be kind enough to read out the questions to me, or whatever way we'll find it out. So what does this topic mean, and why did I bring it out? Is because when we are talking of social and emotional learning, using this SEL in education, and especially the transformative education which we all are interested in, we should know what are we exactly handling. So I've put it as a question mark: emotion or reason. You can read it whichever way you want, reason or emotion. There's no hierarchy in the whole thing. Emotion and reason, and or reason, whatever way. Why I want to bring this up with all of you who are into education and psychology and counseling is that if you look at human history, and maybe if you follow evolution, or you believe in evolution, or uh, whatever theory of progression of human beings, one thing is very clear if you look deeply, is that once the language appeared in our evolution, once we started thinking and we started expressing it, we started storing knowledge, and we started communicating through knowledge. There is a lot of communication in animal world, including us, but we are unique in the sense. When I say unique, I don't mean better. I'm not saying that we are better than all other animal species. But we have a unique way, which is a verbal language, and this verbal language goes on to create a lot of other creative visual language and art and philosophy, and but all through the history, all the barring maybe couple of brief 100 200 years, or especially in people who do poetry and art, if you leave that apart, there's a lot of premium on reason, especially in education. And it became all the more so in our times after enlightenment and renaissance. The insistence on being reasonable, on being rational, on being thinking and thoughtful, and people accepted emotions, that there are emotions, but it was never, especially if we look at our own times, it was never given a sort of importance. And all societies, they will talk of, right from education to homes to society, don't be so emotional, as if emotions are something to be ashamed of, to be suppressed. Partly this difficulty comes from that once we try to express emotion, we again have to fall back on words. And words again go on into this whole arena of reason and rationality and perspectives. And so emotions, I think, have not received their fair share, but they are very, very integral part of us. Because if you again go back to evolution, you will find that perception, awareness of self, although animals can't say it, but I'm sure they have a different worldview in their head with the perception. Emotions are there right from reptiles too. So the myth that there was a motor brain which was responsible for moving in reptiles, and then came emotional brain, and then came the thinking brain, that makes us superior. Partly that's a myth. But what is true, what we understand today, and it's very important that we understand the science behind it. Because once we understand the science behind it, then it will be very easy for us to bring those things in practice. So one is emotion, which is very difficult to decide. You may say sad, but at the time when you're saying sad, you're not wholly sad. Totally, you're not sad. But there are other emotions also floating. So what happened in human beings because of the advent of language, and what makes us different from animal, is that our thinking brain, the cortex which we call neocortex, human beings always have this need of giving meaning, a self-referential meaning to the world. One. Second, what evolved us into what we are is this ability to be together. So we have empathy, we can read, there is something called theory of mind, where we can read the mind of others, uh, give give this concept of intent, like what the other person is doing, the person has an intention. And trust me, even a small child, even before it starts understanding the world, this sense of understanding others mind starts coming in. So kids are born with some abilities, and rest of it they develop. So what we do with emotions is we talk about feelings. Feelings are interpretation of emotion, the cognition coming in after emotion, or cognition leading to emotion. There are various theories, but the fact of the matter is that we give a meaning to that. That is our feeling. When we come to psychology and psychiatry, we start talking of another word called affect, AFFECT. When we talk of affect, that is better, because then you can talk about how the person is feeling right now. But it always has two components. One, it has a quality to it: sad, happy, angry. And these qualities come from the primary emotions which are there in all animal kingdom: lust, anger, rage, fear. Fear, I think, is one of the most basic emotions. We'll talk about it, and so on and so forth. So they have a valence. Valence means positive or negative. Now, where does this whole valence, positive, negative, coming from? It is coming from our own brain perceiving the feedback. Feedback. We do something, we emote something. There's a feedback from the environment or the other person. It goes into our head again through the senses, and then our mind feels good or bad about it. So then we say it's a positive emotion, and we talk a lot about positive emotions and negative emotions. So that is the valence. When we say positive, negative, it's easier to describe rather than saying emotion. And what state of emotions we are in is very difficult to say, because they are a continuously flowing thing. But if I assess your affect, or you assess mine, then you can say, okay, I'm in a positive mood. I'm right. And then there is an intensity to it. The intensity comes from the arousal level. If you are depressed, subjectively you may say sad, and somebody may say you're depressed. Then your arousal is low. That is the intensity. Sometimes people get agitated in depression also. Or you are angry and you are highly aroused and all. So these two things define your underlying emotion, your subjective feeling, and the affect which can be assessed by watching, by talking, and all that. Now, so this is what is happening. And there is no, when we talk of neuroscience, people think there are emotional centers which will get activated, there are centers which will think and all that is fine, but our current understanding of neuroscience is very important and it should be told to people. So I'll try to put it briefly in 5 minutes, the simplest form of it, and then we'll come what is the value of all this in education. Have you all noticed that if you have a fight with somebody and somebody says something to you and you maybe don't talk to the person and feel bad about it and have a negative emotion about it, and that person meets you after say a few months, if you think carefully, if that person is coming even before that person has said anything, your mind will be in a aroused state because the memory of the last meeting, the emotional memory of the last meeting. So we have memory which is a verbal memory, a visual memory, but emotions also go into memory. Your mind will be already activated, anticipating something going wrong, that this person may say something which you don't like. You never know, that person may be coming and to apologize, to make friends with you, or express something else. But that is all second, third stage. First, so do you think this is reasonable? Is this reason? No. It's the emotion. It's the emotion. Let me give you another example. If you go to a restaurant and maybe your friends take you and you have been to that restaurant and you had taken some Chinese food and which was not good. So first, even if your friends are taking you there, inside your emotions will be saying, "Don't go there. Food is not good." And there, if they start ordering, yeah, emotion will come in front. Don't order Chinese here. It's not good. What is that emotion? This is called disgust. The disgust, fear, hatred, lust, anger, all these are basic emotions which have been guiding human beings for millions of years and guiding evolution also. So when we are even thinking, we are thinking objectively, we are not actually. We are not. Why? Because that is how the brain has evolved. If you look at a, so neuroscience, so the man who actually brought back all this was Sigmund Freud in last century. He comes up, he says emotions are very important. They are an unconscious mind. They act as hydraulic pump, and and then again cognitive rationalists jumped over it, and for the last 60 years we have been talking about cognition and cognitive. It's only in the last 10, 15 years some people, some scientists are giving more importance to emotions. I've been also working on this theory. So what we probably now we are sure about it as it appears now, and that is the major difference between artificial intelligence and people say AI can never be like human beings. Why? AI can reason like you, it can calculate like you, it whether it can emote like you, whether, I mean, you can the robo may extend the hand and help, but whether the robo will feel emotional, that is the question. But for that we have to go back to our brains. See, in fact, what is happening when we are born, our learning starts from within the womb. Everything, every mood of mother, every action of mother will go and affect the fluid which is amniotic fluid which is covering the womb. Cortisol level, hormonal level, they keep affecting the brain growth. When we are born, we have about 10 to the power 11 neurons. Neurons are the basic unit of brain. In their places, some of them are connected, but from that till about 18, 19 years of age, whatever interaction the person has with the environment goes on forming your brain networks. And actually, this area where we think develops pretty late, which does the executive function. It is there in human beings, it is there in a lot of animals, in us. So this environment is actually the same nature nurture debate. You're born with a certain genetic endowment. The environment, you interact with the environment, everything forms you. Remember this, because this is important to for us. So what is the brain doing? Brain actually is interested in only one thing: your survival and reproduction, to continue the species. So the brain is devised in such a way that it takes energy information from the senses, from eye, from ear, from touch, from within the body. It goes there, it is compared with memory, whether you know it or not. But even before that, the emotions assess it, whether this thing is threatful or not. So, like we are in a very friendly environment, you're not getting threatened. But suppose if somebody, I get into a different mood, or maybe I start cursing you and all, immediately your mood will change. Because, or if you see if a ball is thrown at you, you can duck and catch it. But somebody throws a knife, that is a threat. The first thing brain does to all this data which is going in to assess whether this is a threat. Threat, why? Because brain has to make you survive. That is an emotional act. Emotions, the areas of brain which will assess all the information, compared with memory, mix up all the signals and the worldview which is already existing in the brain, mix it up with the new information, and from 100 milliseconds to 500 milliseconds, it comes to your awareness, to the higher center of the brain, which can decide whether you want to act on it or you don't want to act on it. And then you do something, and there is a feedback from the environment. This feedback from the environment, so it is emotion which is deciding how you are going to act even before you are aware of it. Even before you are aware of it. And the first step. Second, the environment which you do something, there is a response from the environment, a person or anything, and that feedback goes into your head, and then you either feel a sense of reward or a sense of punishment. If you feel a sense of reward which is managed through dopamine, you will keep doing it again, exploring it. If it is a sense of serotonin high, you think it's no worse, this is wrong. This does not yield me good result. I do this, there's a smile on the face of other person, good. Let me keep doing this. I do something, the person becomes angry, not good. For your own survival. That is a seed of morality. So the seed of morality comes from here, of being good and bad. And over millions of years, society has developed, it conditions your mind, and that is where our education steps in. Because, and then you have empathy. There is something called mirror neurons in the brain by which you can understand. And it's a fact that if a person is moving a hand, the area of brain which will be activated in my head will be activated in your head also. So there's a lot of understanding. See, reading the thought of the other, you don't need a gadgetry for that. We often understand what is the other person intending, or it may be wrong or right. That is a different ball game. Why is this information important? This information is important because you see, as educationists, what you have is a period of 16, 17 years. The societal conditioning and the schooling is often hell-bent on giving you skill set and giving you something trained how to be human civilized society and all. But a lot of this goes against the grain. Small kids will act emotionally because this conditioning has not happened to them. As they grow up, start going to school, their critical period where society is conditioning and their own urges, which are more emotional in nature, they get into, and then we teach them reason, they suppress emotion. A lot of this emotion can vanish, but a lot of it can turn into anger and a lot of stuff which is happening with the youngsters all around. This window, I often insist in a lot of my workshops, that this window of training, is it meant only for making human beings to work, to teach them how to gain skill and work. That is the middle scale of living. Everybody is doing something or the other. 750 million people, put like dots, everybody is doing something. But another level, everybody is a human being. So you may be a scientist, you may be a professor, you may be a politician, whatever you are. When you drop that work and start behaving like human, again the drift comes in about balancing your emotions and reason. The technique till now was suppress emotions. You should not be so emotional. You should not be express your emotions carefully. You're not liking, but you still smile. And the training goes on and along the conditioning societal. A lot of people who come to psychiatrists in the adult, trust me, if you scratch them, they all have unexpressed emotions. So when you don't know your emotions, you don't know your feeling also. And how are you going to so affect and everything? Let me end in, because the time is very less. This requires at least an hour, but some other day we can do it. I've put my email and phone on the chat box, please, and we can always discuss. I can send you my PDF book also, Maya is Reality, which is about all this only. What should we teach to children? We should, before forget transformation. Transformation can be done later. Talk about the formation first. We should not teach kids to suppress emotion. We should teach kids to balance and harmonize between emotions and reason. Because what we think are is reason is not a reason, it's already laced in emotions. It's already laced in emotions before it reaches your conscious mind. One person in our times who realized this was Mahatma Gandhi. He was a man of huge rage and huge lust. But while he was training his head, he realized that there is no point fighting violence and rage and within. Because if you fight, it will damage. It will come up in various forms. That's how the brain keeps projecting here and there. So he said, let it be there. Let me pose the idea of non-violence against every violent rage. It took him 50 years, but he did it. Every violent rage which was happening in his head was ignored, and non-violence as a concept, an idea, and an action as a creed was practiced by him. His life has a lot of transformative skills. So I think all kids, you should focus at formation. And how do you form? It's okay to be emotional. Talk about it. Talk about what are the ways to express. Whatever the ways of expression are, which is the best suitable, which will bring peace, give enough validity to the other person, and you are also not destroyed. They'll have faults, they will do everything, but over time, when they become adults, they'll be different adults. Otherwise, trust me, the world, people who are running the world are still acting on emotions. Be it wars, be it riots, be it corruptions, they think they are thinking, but they are not. They are looking at small gains of land, of money, of maybe thinking of 50 years, 100 years. But where is it coming from? It is coming from their own emotional stuff. So when many people like this join, the collective emotions becomes very dangerous, like in war. So we should aim at a world which is beyond us 20 years, 30 years. Whatever kids we get, look at 16, 17 years of training, and then you will know where is it coming from. So I think time is less. Yeah, Michelle? So we can have some Q&A, and someday if you all want, we can have a longer talk on this. I don't have a problem with that. All right, anything. It's too short, I know, but can't help it. Michelle, so we have 8 minutes. So we have questions, ideas. Yeah, anybody, please. Is there something? Okay, let me read the chat. Comment on emotional disorder in relation to education. Yeah, Dr. Peter, that's what I was saying. So we see in kids, at least in India, if I don't know, but I think it's all over because otherwise child adolescent psychiatry would have vanished. What is happening is that because there are stresses at home, there are stresses of career, there are stresses of diversity in classroom. Every kid has a different learning paradigm and a different learning trajectory. The stress levels. So at one level, we talk of that be healthy and be emotional, but we never really sit down to teach kids how to handle this stress. And when I'm saying handling emotions, the suppressing emotion is no answer. We have to give them an outlet. We have to tell them various ways of expressing it. Same anger can do great things, huh? Same anger, you can go and win a football match and you can make great cinema. Our society ignores emotion. We don't realize that whatever, if I am not emotionally interested, I will not be interested in the subject which teacher is teaching me. So that is a channelization of emotion. Yes, Anju is saying it correctly. Process the emotion with correct reasons, logic, to refine them before we express, which becomes good habit with value and ethics. Absolutely. This is Mr. Mahatma Gandhi. What you're saying, Anju, is absolutely right. This is what Gandhi did. Without knowing psychology and without getting into the highfalutin things which we keep talking, he knew it. He knew it in the crux. So, when Gandhi could do it, we can do it. I have stuff on Gandhi. I teach Mahatma Gandhi for last 10, 15 years. And there is a talk called An Hour with the Mahatma, which is on YouTube. And there's a book by the same name, An Hour with the Mahatma. Uh, if you can email me, I put my email and phone number. Please feel free to talk. I'll send you all the links and all. Uh, okay. Mashahiro says, thank you for your lecture. When we are struggling to distinguish the complex emotion in our hearts, how can we identify the emotion that we actually have? Now, you have asked a very important question. I deliberately skipped it. What we sometimes call emotion are not actually emotions. Like you say, guilt. Guilt is not an emotion. Love is not an emotion. Love is a cognitive emotion. Oxymoron. Because that brings in a lot of factors: sacrifice, patience, this, that. So some of this is rational training. You can train if we can find out time for ourselves where instead of reacting, we take a step back and then see, then you will know what is the emotion. Suppose if I insult somebody, I can cover it with logic. No, no, he was talking nonsense, and I have the, like all political leaders do. Everybody is doing this. Has an opinion. Nobody is ready to listen to anyone all across the world because of technology and lot of information. But suppose I'm speaking terse to somebody and saying that, okay, you are wrong. In that moment, where is this terse tone coming from? It is coming from your own insecurity. Because see, emotions have stuff. Emotions on the from the top, if they come, they give you feedback. They are a let out system developed in evolution to stop you from jumping into every problem. And they are like a hydraulic pump release systems. But if somebody says that you're not right, you know what is happening? We are feeling insecure in our head. It hurts our ego. That surge of anger comes up, but you are in a situation where you can't tell. So reason will cover it up beautifully, and it will say, "No, you are wrong, and I am academically right." Who is right? Who is wrong? Nobody knows. Yeah, Dr. Peter, teachers do need capacity. Michelle is getting anxious now. She's feeling emotion now. She's saying it's 2 o'clock. Let's wrap it up. Yeah, don't worry. Don't. I will. I will. So feel. See, it was a very short time. I'm sure neither I nor you have been able to do any justice to it. If you go to the beginning of the chat, I'm again typing my email and WhatsApp. Please feel free. I'll tell you the book and may talk and everything, and we should keep doing some communication on it. And if any point of
Okay.
time away from this conference, if you want, we can always do a longer webinar. All right.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Bajpai.
Enjoy, all of you. Good luck, and please be in touch and let's talk more.
Okay,
Thanks, Michelle.
thank you. Please feel free to reach out to Dr. Bajpai. His information is in the chat.
Yes, I've
Thank
given
you.
it. All right, wonderful. Take care. All the best. Bye. Should I leave it now? Where do I sign out from? Wherever. Okay. Bye, Michelle. You take care, huh?
You too. Thank you.
Yeah, bye, bye, bye.